of my love, I always had to be in control of how people perceived me, how people heard my emotions, how people felt my emotions, how people showed up in my space. Like I had a tight hold on my life, intimately, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, in every aspect, where it was just like the Great Wall of China surrounding me. And that was because the more control you have in your life, you start to create these brain pathways where you're associating safety with control. And then what happens is when you want to release that control, your body goes into fight or flight and it freaks the fuck out to where you're like, stranger danger. This is uncomfortable. Like, I need to go back in my bubble. I need to go back into the things that make me safe. And right now, control makes me safe. And it's the same thing when it's flip flopped, right? So, going back to the sexual things and not feeling like you're in control because you couldn't stop them, like it's the same thing, right? So now instead of feeling like you have to have control, you're kind of just like, I have no control. And this is making me very uncomfortable because I don't even know how to protect myself in this situation. So then you kind of create the brain chemicals in your body to associate lack of control with not being able to trust yourself. So then you associate that not being able to trust yourself with relationships, intimacy, and love. So you can kind of see like the science around it. And that's what we're going to dive into today, if we get through today. Um, we're going to talk about erotic innocence, reclaiming the parts of you that existed before the world told you who you were meant to be, right? So, what is erotic innocence? So, erotic innocence is not being naive, right? It's the part of you that is unbothered. It's the part of you that is super curious, super playful. They're soft, right? They're turned on by life. They're not performing. They're not shrinking. They're not people pleasing. Like they're just completely untamed, unedited, wild, free women, right? And that's the part of us that we really want to engage in is this part of us that no longer fears, right? That no longer is needing to have control or not trusting ourselves enough to protect us. And the erotic innocence, like when I say playful, like it's not like a childish playful, right? Like it's not like a naive, I'm super vulnerable and like I don't understand. So like people are just gonna walk over me like a doormat. Like I always say, like people kind of associate it with like the kinky bimbo, but in reality, like erotic innocence is like your original blueprint of your sexual story. So that is one question that I am going to drop into the WhatsApp tonight. And I want you guys to really think about it is when did your first belief start? Like, when did your sexual story start? Right. And it doesn't have to be like, I lost my virginity when I was 16 years old. Like, it could be I, you know, I had a bad situation happen in middle school. And that's when I first, like, my sex story started. Or it could be really good and be like, I had my first kiss in kindergarten and it was playful and had no meaning. And like, I was just young, wild, and free. Like, it could be anything. It could be like, you watching a movie for the first time and you just started to have like these fantasies and like desires come to life. And so, kind of just think about that because your erotic innocence is that blueprint. It's the blueprint of your sexuality before the shame, before the comparison, before the religious standards, before the performance, before trauma, right? Like before you learned to be desired instead of expressive, right? Like erotic innocence is your sensuality without the survival response. So going back to the very first day in the WhatsApp chat, like the question came up like, what would it feel like to have no anxiety in your body? Your erotic innocence is that, right? So it's the moment that your pleasure, your life, your nervous system becomes playful again, not performative, not trying to fight off panthers in the jungle when you don't need to. What erotic innocence is not is porn. right? The porn industry fucked up sexuality to a motherfucking T, right? Porn replicated sexuality is only going to keep you in this performative state. No one gives a flying fuck how you sound in the bedroom. You don't even have to moan in the bedroom, right? You don't have to suck dick like this or ride the dick like this or do that or wear these things or say these things or call him daddy or whatever. Like, don't try to replicate anything that you see on social media, that you see on Instagram, Facebook, in movies, on porn. Like, don't even watch it, right? Because erotic innocence has nothing to do with sex. It has nothing to do with the aesthetic version of your sensuality. And it has everything to do with just being the realest, rawest version of you, right? Feminine energy with rules and checklists, like, we're not doing that. We're not here checking off the boxes saying, well, I got a cute bra from Victoria's Secret. I'm wearing perfume. I got my hair did. I got my nails done. So, like, I look sexy. Like, no, we're not doing that, because eroticism for women who are fully expressed looks like you having a full blown anger tantrum to release anger from your body. That could be sexy, right? Having a full blown meltdown and crying on your partner's arms and them just witnessing you in your sadness. That's eroticism. So really switching the belief of what sexuality really is, opposed to what social media and society makes you believe that it is, right? Because erotic innocence is not some trauma response packaged as seduction. There is a difference between being seductive and being manipulated. And we're going to dive deeper into that on tomorrow when we talk about sacred self intimacy, because there is a difference. And the way seduction shows up in social media today is very manipulative. It's not the actual art of seduction. And so ultimately, to have embodied erotic innocence is to be you. It's about returning back to your authenticity, returning back to your fullest version of yourself, right? And so some of the ways that we lose this part of us is through sexual shaming, right? Good girls don't do this. Mothers don't do that. Close your legs. Don't be too fast. You shouldn't have a body count more than two, right? Save sex till marriage. I'm going to give you away to your husband when I walk you down the aisle. All of these things. Objectification, right? You learned to be hot, not open, right? Society is really good at body shaming people. In order to be sexy, you have to be a size 00 with big titties, a big ass. You have to have gorgeous long hair. You have to have your nails done. You have to have clear, flawless skin. God forbid you have stretch marks or saggy boobs. Like, they're teaching you materialistic things of sexuality, and none of that shit matters, right? You can have the perfect body and not feel sexy. You can look sexy, but do you feel it? Right? So what I really want you to do is, instead of trying to teach yourself how to be hot, like, teach yourself how to be open, teach yourself how to be you, teach yourself how to live in your truth, because that is sexy. It's not sexy to wear a Halloween costume and pretend who you are around people that you want to love when they don't even really know the real you. And then also, like, we obviously lose it through traumas and like non-consensual experiences, right? So when you associate pleasure and sex with danger, your innocence gets shut off, right? That playful side of you gets shut off. We were talking about that in the WhatsApp chat earlier today, right? Your nervous system starts to flip into survival, not reception. And ultimately, that's the whole point as women, is we are supposed to be the magnetic beings to receive love, to receive money, to receive wealth, to receive all the riches in the world, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. And you can't do that if you're closed off, right? You can't do that. If you put water and you put a like a wall and you just try to have water coming in, the water is not going to come in. It's just going to build up, build up, build up, because that wall is blocking the flow. But as soon as you break the wall down, all of the water will come in. It's the same thing with you, right? Your body didn't forget innocence. It's just buried inside of you, behind all the pain, all the traumas, all of the conditioning, all of the objectification. behind the be the good girl, cover up, don't do too much, right? Boys only want you for sex. Sex is dangerous. You're too play, like all these things. Like it's time to just be like, fuck that, right? And so, do we have any questions, comments, or concerns so far? Or is this making sense to you? Yeah. Okay, cool. So, just a recap of what we dove into yesterday, because we are going to add on to that today, is yesterday we talked about the 7 feminine archetypes, right? The maiden, she's curious, she's soft, she's innocent. We talked about the lover, the mother, the huntress, the queen, the mystic, the I have maidens twice, but the siren. And so today we're going to activate those archetypes that are sitting inside of you because we have all of them. And the erotic innocence is the root to all of those being connected, right? So this is where we get to go deeper, right? This is where your erotic innocence starts to become present, not only out into the ethers externally, but actually like in your body, in your DNA, in your brain. Because believe it or not, like when your erotic innocence is present, your overthinking part of the brain, so your prefrontal cortex, is deactivated, meaning you're no longer like in logic. You're no longer of trying to figure out A plus B equals C because you're just flowing with life. You're just flowing with pleasure. And your emotional centers in your body, so your limbic system, becomes regulated. So you no longer feel that anxious feeling in your body because your body is just associated with joy and love. And instead of being like, fuck, why is this always happening to me? You're kind of just like, of course this is happening. Like, I'm supposed to learn a lesson here. Like, all is good in the world because no matter what I go through, no matter how shitty the situation is, everything is working out in my favor, right? You kind of have this like lackadaisical like mindset towards life, but not in like an unhealthy, like delusional kind of way. It's kind of delusional, but not to like the unhealthy, dissociated way. And then also, like, your vagus nerve gets activated, right? So we kind of talked about that yesterday, where your throat is connected to your pleasure center by a itty bitty nerve called the vagus nerve. And it literally connects from your brain all the way to your gut. And it sends signals, like 20,000 signals every second between the two. And what happens is when you don't speak your truth or you keep your expressions like hidden or you don't vocalize how you really feel, you kind of create this wall. And what happens is when you create this wall in your throat, the signals are getting blocked. So then what happens is if the signals are getting blocked, it's just pushing it back down. And then that part of your body is no longer creating the signals because it has a signal overload. So the normal signals start to die. So that's when you start to look for external factors to give you pleasure and dopamine hits, like doom scrolling on Instagram or one night stands with guys that you'll never in a million years even consider in a normal life or whatever, because, or even like addictions like drugs and alcohol, is because you're trying to get the brain waves and the brain like dopamine hit that you would get if that pathway was originally open. So that's why it's so important to keep your throat open. And so some of the ways for you to keep your throat open and activated so that vagus nerve is activated and your nervous system is calm so you don't have the anxiety in your body is to just talk, right? If you don't want to talk to somebody, talk to yourself. One practice that I started to do every single day is I have like a voice note journal. So in my notepad on my cell phone, I'll do voice notes where I'm just like brain dumping and I'm just like rapid firing and riffing what is coming to my dome at that moment. And no one sees them, no one hears them, but they're there, right? Or even Chat GPT. Like I have a whole tab in Chat GPT. I call her Flow. And when I go on my morning walks, I'm like, all right, Flo, I'm about to brain dump. Like, I need you to embody my subconscious right now and tell me like what's going on. And I'll have a whole conversation with Chat GPT, breaking down my own limiting beliefs, my own shadows, why I'm thinking this thing, and everything like that. And it keeps my throat chakra activated because I'm speaking my truth, even if I'm not speaking it to a real person. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then let me know if you guys have questions. Drop them in the chat. And we could talk about the questions too. And then also, like, right, dopamine and oxytocin increases. So the more you're in your sensuality, the more happy and pleasure filled you are, right? So increase moments in your life where you get oxytocin. And oxytocin is the love chemical. So cuddles, right? Even if that means you sitting like this is activating your oxytocin, which is going to create love and happy hormones in your body that makes you feel safe. Or just sitting on the couch with your mom, your dog, your partner, your kid, whoever, and creating that oxytocin, which is the chemical for trust and connection. Because more oxytocin moments created naturally, you no longer will try to look for it externally. And then you will also like not dissociate, right? So if you have erotic archetypes like the maiden, the lover, the mother, and those archetypes that are deactivated because you're not tapped into your eroticism, you'll start to be hyper vigilant, right? So that means your mind is going to go like a mile a minute and you're going to have thoughts that aren't even yours to carry. That means when you go on social media and you hear something like how shitty the world is, all of a sudden that's going to add the noise to the thoughts that you're already having. So think of it as like a really annoying radio station that just constantly has static, but you can't really differentiate the words that are coming up. That's how your brain feels when you're hyper vigilant. Your muscles will also start bracing, right? So that's when you're going to start having like pains in your shoulders. You're going to have lower back pains. You're going to have hip problems, right? That's when you start to feel the pain and the tightness in your body, is because your sensuality and your energy and your pleasure is not flowing through. It's kind of just trapped. And then again, you start to overthink, right? Oh my gosh, who are they texting? Why aren't they responding back to me? Oh my gosh, they don't love me. If I don't do this, they're not going to love me. If I don't cook dinner the right way, they're not going to love me. If I don't show up at 5 o'clock when I say I'm going to show up, they're not going to love me, right? All these things. And it doesn't even have to be an intimate relationship, it could be family members, right? Feeling like love is transactional with family members is 100% thing, right? Parents to this day, you better say sorry. You better say thank you, right? Where's your manners? Okay, well, I didn't ask to be here. So why do I have to thank you for feeding me? It's kind of your job. Like it's your job, right? Um, but that is something that has been taught to us, right? Love is transactional. You have to have your manners. And anytime we don't have those manners or we don't do the thing or the transaction to feel loved, we all of a sudden feel like we are incapable of pleasing people. So now we have this thought of, I'm a disappointment. And then you start to close off yourself during intimacy. And again, that's not just sex, right? That's intimate interactions with anybody in your life. And when you get to that place, that's when you start to have depression and anxiety and stress and overthinking, and you're like not really being able to let go, right? So if you're one of those people that you're like, I just want to learn like how to let shit go, right? Like I hold grudges, right? Like if you're a person that can hold a grudge, that's because you've never created that erotic innocence in your body to let shit go. And if you can't let things go, that's because you've internalized it and personalized it to make it mean something to you when in reality, like it doesn't even mean that. So it could be something like Becky in junior high cut you in the lunch line, and then all of a sudden you internalized it as I don't matter, I'm invisible, no one sees me, and you kind of just go down this rabbit hole. Erotic innocence is literally a neural pathway, right? Like it's biology, it's science. That's why I love when people are like, the stuff you teach isn't real. And I'm like, it's literally science. It's biology. It's human sexuality. This is not something you fake because it's in our body. It's not just an energy, right? You're rewiring your body. And over these next couple of days, with the activities that you do, you're going to continue to rewire and to create new messages in your brain. So when you are fully expressed in your eroticism, right, you start to have freedom without self-isolation, right? You start to feel confident without being defensive. You start to have spirituality without bypassing things. You start to nurture and care for people without overgiving, right? Your emotions matter because you're no longer self-sacrificing yourself, but you're also no longer performing pleasure and caretaking just to mark things off the good girl checklist, right? You no longer come from like this place of like, let me be as helpful as I can so I feel loved, to like, this is who I am. You could take it or you can motherfucking leave it. At the end of the day, I don't need to be loved by you because I'm loved by me, and like all is Gucci in the world, right? And that's ultimately where we want to be. We want to be our biggest cheerleader. And a woman who returns to her eroticism is a woman who doesn't collapse under pressure. She doesn't collapse when she doesn't receive praise. Oh my gosh, they didn't say thank you when I bought them a coffee. So, like, I don't matter. Oh my gosh, I drove 5 hours to go see somebody and like they didn't even acknowledge it. Whatever the thing is, right? Like, you no longer are trying to look for external validation because you give yourself all of the internal love. You give yourself all of the reception of love and affection that you need, to where you're no longer bracing it from other people. You're able to receive love without feeling tension in your body. You're able to express your emotions without apologizing. One thing that I see all the time is people will say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what? Right? Like, it will literally be the littlest things. You accidentally bumped me. I'm sorry. Okay. You spilt water on the floor. I'm sorry. I messed up on a move in dance class. I'm so sorry. Right? Like, we apologize for everything. We have a typo in a text message. I'm so sorry. Stop apologizing unless you actually did something wrong. If you did something that actually hurt somebody, then apologize. But don't say sorry just for living life, because then that keeps you in this state of lack. That keeps you in this state of like not feeling like you're enough. Right. And we're here to embody a life where we're not asking for permission. We're not asking for approval because we already give it to ourselves. Right. And so the parts where this lives in your body is your heart, right? So that's why every time I have you breathe, I'm always like, put one hand on your heart, because that pressure is immediately making a biological impact to your heart center. So when you have this like space and this pressure on your heart and your sternum, you're creating safety to be emotionally seen by yourself, right? It's kind of like a weighted blanket for your heart of saying, I see you, I got you, I'm going to hold you. And then it also lives in your solar plexus, which is your emotional chakra, right? So again, this is why I have you put one hand on your womb, because that's the emotional blanket to create safety to express your desires, to express your emotions. It also lives in your womb, which is your sacral chakra, your belly. It's literally where you like hold kids when you're pregnant. That is your house of reception. That's your house of creativity. There is no coincidence that literally the house for a human life form is also the same house that houses your pleasures and your desires and your creativity and your sexuality, right? Like, that's not coincidence. And so you also have to be able to regulate that, because as women, we're taught that that part of our body is only for creating life, for only creating babies. So then if you don't want to create a baby, you're not living up to your end of the deal of being a woman. So now you're a bad woman because you want no kids. No, right? Like, you have to be able to receive pleasure in that area despite what your fertility state is. And then also your throat, right? We've talked about this so many times. Your throat is the main force and the main signal to activating and vocalizing your pleasure. That's why you moan during sex when things feel good, or you sigh when you're breathing in a somatic practice. That sigh activates your womb, the house of creativity and pleasure, activates your heart because it's all in one line. And at the end of the day, the vagus nerve, that is literally the route 66 for all of it connecting, is where your surrenderance is. It's the roadmap to surrendering. It's the roadmap to receiving. And all you have to do is get really familiar with your womb, your heart, your throat, and your emotions. And when that happens, that's when your nervous system starts to feel safe, right? That's when your femininity and your sensuality starts to be witnessed. That's when you walk into the room and people just automatically associate you with sexy, right? Like, and that's one thing that I'm really freaking good at, right? Like, people know that if I'm teaching a class, if I'm doing something, leading something, it's going to be sexy, right? Like, hands down. I'm going back home in December teaching a class, and you best believe that heels class I'm teaching is going to be sexy, right? They know that the attire all the way down to the choreo is going to be sexy. And that's not because I'm performing sexiness, but that's because I've really embodied my femininity. So naturally, when you're in your femininity, you're no longer going to try to perform looking hot because you just feel hot. And when you feel hot, that aura and your energetic bubble, which is a 6-foot radius, starts to amplify. So if you've embodied that sexiness of really feeling confident in your skin, anyone within 6 feet of you is going to be like, damn, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Why is she moving like that? Oh my gosh, she's so confident. And that's where you guys want to be, right? Like, that is where intimacy becomes nourishment instead of performance. That's when you start to create into me, I see, because you're actually creating intimacy within yourself, right? You're actually creating intimacy in your body, not from external validations, but from real, solid self-love. And that's where the reclamation starts, right? So this is where I kind of want to bring up the religion aspects that has been coming up the last couple days, right? Because religion told you that innocent meant you're not touched, right? Religion is always like, oh, you have to be a virgin. You have to be pure. That's why you wear white on your wedding day. And the patriarchy, which is the man world we're living in, constantly teaches women that being a good girl and being innocent means you're quiet and you're submissive. Society and social media tells us that innocence means you're small. Because if you're bold and you're loud and you take up space, you're doing too much. So then we shrink ourselves to be virgins, to hide our sexuality, to remain quiet. So we start to speak with a super quiet voice to where people barely understand us. And we try to become invisible. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this show Bridgerton on Netflix. This is a good, oh my gosh, you guys need to watch it if you have not. Bridgerton is the perfect replication of what femininity looks like and all the sexual wounds and how to overcome the sexual wounds and what happens when you're sexually liberated and how it makes you like, it's the perfect replication of like pillow talk in a TV series. And if you have seen it, there's a character called Penelope Featherington. And she is literally the epitome of what it means to have your sensuality hidden. She's like a wallflower. She purposely makes herself invisible and unnoticed to where she could be in a room with someone and people don't even know she's there. But she's like the good girl. She's perfect because she's so innocent and so pure, right? We don't want to be that, right? We actually want to be like, my sexuality is mine. My pleasure is mine. My body belongs to me. What I do with my body is my business. The way I move my body is my business. My expressions, my emotions, my eroticism is all intelligence. It's all safety, right? Really creating that nervous system safety in your body to where you no longer have to try to play it safe. You no longer have to ask permission to share your feelings. Hey, can I talk to you for a second? I really need to like just vent right now. Why are you asking permission to vent? You should just be able to vent, and people should know how to hold space for you. And if they didn't, that's because you probably haven't taught them to, because you haven't expressed your emotions enough. Right? You have to start being curious. When you stop looking at life from a place of curiosity, you stop playing, you stop being innocent, you start being like logical. We need to go back to the little kid version of us, right? Literally, the kid version of us. Kids, if you look at kids, they are the most curious freaking beings ever. They are always asking why, they are always doing things and getting into something. And we have to be that same way too. Why is this happening to me? Why do I feel like that? Why do I think about this? Why do I want those fantasies? Right? That's a lot of times why when you guys are dropping things in the chat, I'm always responding back with a question that makes you go deeper, because you guys have to get curious about why those beliefs are even there in the first place. Discovering the truth, right? Is it really your truth, or do you have that belief because it was like projected onto you by somebody else and you just made it a home in your body and ran with it? Because if it was your truth, then it probably wouldn't be feeling icky in your body. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, some practices that you guys can start to do to really bring in this sexuality into your life is literally everything, right? So, when we first started this call, like Justice was cooking in the kitchen while we were on Zoom. Like, that's erotic innocence, right? Like, I'm sitting in an oversized tee with panties on, drinking sparkling water out of a wine glass. Like, that's erotic innocence, right? Breathing and really melting into the tension, right? Not just, but like, right? Like, literally feeling it going down your body. Mirror work, right? Looking at yourself in the mirror, butt naked, without flinching. Can you actually make eye contact with yourself, right? Feminine movement, taking the heel classes, taking the pole dancing classes, really taking those classes that are going to put you in a space that forces you to touch your body and to slow down and to get into your sexiness. And then visualization, right? So visualization is a really powerful tool because your brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is fake. It only knows the connections that you've created. So if you physically are holding a candle, burning your hand, that's sending signals to your brain like this is hot. Now, if you sit and you really think about holding a candle in your hand mentally, so much so that you see it, you feel it, you smell it, it will send the same signals to your brain as if you did the real thing. And so imagine if you did that every day and you just visualized your sexuality, visualized pleasure. You sat in the shower and you took an extra 2 minutes to really feel the water dripping down your body. Or you open up your throat, right? You actually speak your truth. You actually start to put voice notes, journals in your phone to like speak your emotions. You actually start to stand up for yourself. You actually start to say no when you really want to say no to something. Right? Like these little micro movements, these little energetic shifts, these little emotional releases will all reactivate that sensual energy and start to create pleasure, safety in your body. You don't have to think that this is just something that isn't meant for you. It is meant for you because it's already inside of you. You've just been told it's not safe in any aspect, whether that's transactional love from family members or being in a situation where you're being taken advantage of sexually. This is for you. And you're meant to feel this good in your body. We should never feel like we hate ourselves in our body. This is our house while we're earthside. We might as well learn to love it and renovate it and make it the prettiest damn thing we're living in. right? Like when you start to feel these connections from a place of true, genuine intimacy because of yourself, not because of somebody else, the sex starts to get better. The relationships start to get better. Your confidence starts to get better. Your self-worth will get better. Your feminine energy will start to explode. You're no longer faking arousal, right? You're no longer faking an orgasm. You're communicating your desires freely. You're standing up for yourself at work. Like it starts to replicate and influence and amplify every part of your life. And that's what we want, right? We don't want to outsource our sexuality because of survival. We want to take that power back. And so these are some journal prompts that you can do in order to kind of get the ball rolling, right? So, where did I first learn to shrink my pleasure or desire? What parts of my erotic nature do I miss? Right? Where am I performing intimacy instead of experiencing it because it is an experience? What does my innocent erotic self want? What do I actually want? How do I want sex to feel? Do I want to be on top? Do I want to be on the bottom? Do I want it in the ass? Do I not? Right? Like, ask yourself these curious questions. Where does my body still brace? Right? Where do you feel the tension in your body, the anxiety in your body, the stress in your body? And then where does she relax? Where does she feel peace? And take a mental note. And I'll drop these in the group chat as well. I'm just checking in the chat. Yep. Yep. And then again, just a reminder, like your erotic innocence is your default setting. It's the version of you that came out the womb and society eventually told you to put her away, right? We're just bringing her back. We're giving you back your original blueprint. We're giving you back we're literally giving you like a hardwire reset, right? Like a default reset. That's ultimately what we're doing. You're not changing. You're not having to try to do something that you're not familiar of doing. You're literally just coming back home to yourself. Do we have any questions, comments, concerns around all of this? And then, yeah. And then this is your integration activity, right? So again, this will be part of your raffle. So you have until tomorrow, 8 p.m. So until tomorrow's call to get this activity into the WhatsApp to be entered into the raffle for that one-on-one call with me. But tonight's activity is sit with your body for 2 minutes, right? One hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, and ask yourself, like, where did my innocence go into hiding? Notice the feelings in your body. Notice the tightness. If she softens, if you get hot, if you feel like a ball in your throat, if you start to shut down and get uncomfortable, anything is data. It's not drama, right? It's giving you data, and take note of that. And then put that in the chat, right? Like I did the exercise and I noticed I started to get hot. I noticed I started to get sweaty palms. I started to laugh. Whatever it is, put the data in the WhatsApp. And then during that practice, like when you do start to notice those things coming up in your body, like invite your body back to safety, right? So you can literally say out loud or say it to yourself in whispering or like mentally. And you could just be like, you're safe to play with me again. You're safe to come out. You're safe to come home. You're safe to be free. I'm letting you out of the cage, right? And like really letting that sit in your body and saying it over and over and over again until you feel it in your body. And you'll feel it in your body. You'll feel your body start to like, okay. And then add 30 seconds of hip movements, right? Like you could twerk, you can move your hips, you could do some hip rolls, you could do some shoulder rolls, you could do a neck roll, you can do whatever. You could do a happy baby child's pose on the floor. Just add like some type of movement into your body. Movement is the quickest and most simplest way to release stagnicity from your body. And that's what we want. We don't want stagnant energy that is just circulating. We want it to ebb and flow and rotate and be released and entered in all the things. And so whatever movement is being called to you, 30 seconds, that's all. You can literally brush your teeth and twerk while you're brushing your teeth at the same time and like check that off the list. And then really have fun with it though, right? And then again, like end with an inhale and an exhale. And then on the inhale, you're reclaiming your power. On the exhale, you're releasing things that are no longer serving you. So this is your somatic integration practice for today. Report back to the WhatsApp how you felt, what came up, what you noticed, what you liked, what you didn't like. And then let's talk about that. And then if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, you guys can ask me now. You guys can unmute yourself or put them in the chat. If not, you can put them in the WhatsApp, and I will see your beautiful faces tomorrow. I will add the recording will be dropped by tomorrow. The PDF guide for this one has already been added to the WhatsApp. So you'll have the PDF guide that you can download with all of these slides. And then I'll put the integration and the journal prompts in the WhatsApp so you guys have those fresh face. But thank you so much. I hope you guys are loving everything so far. And I will check in with you guys in the group chat.